there was some big news in the NFL this week, and I wanted to take some time to really step back for a second and analyze my feelings on the topic and make sure that my feelings and my opinions were conveyed correctly, because it can be a pretty sensitive subject. There are some people that are going to really like this event and what it means for the league overall, and there are some people that are not going to like it. And regardless of political preference or personal feelings, I wanted to make sure that I towed the line as much as possible, despite my own personal feelings, so I could properly give an opinion and a take that does a good job of representing what this means for the sport. And of course, this event that happened is that the NFL has its first openly active gay player, and his name is Carl Nassib, and he came out earlier this week. Of course, it is the month of June, which is quote-unquote Pride Month, and the NFL did a nice follow-up statement. And, there was some reservations about that for me personally, because I don't want what Carl Nassib is doing to be used as a publicity stunt by the NFL, because whenever it's Pride Month, companies around the world can just ignore the LGBTQ plus community for the entire year round. But when it comes to June, kind of similar to Black History Month in that matter, it's that whole internet meme where it's like, okay, it's June, so that means every single company around the world, their PR department is going to support gay people, kind of that sort of meme. I don't want that to be what this ends up being for the NFL. I don't want Carl Nassib's courage to come out publicly as being gay to be used for a publicity stunt by the NFL to, really to basically open up itself to a larger audience that maybe it wouldn't have had before, and seemingly a horribly underappreciated and horribly underrepresented faction of people who love football or play football, but also maybe gay as well. So I wanted to kind of air that concern as well, but I did want to talk about Carl Nassib and what he's doing. And if you missed it, he made a post on Instagram, which I like the way that NFL players have been posting on Instagram recently. It comes from word of mouth. It doesn't come from word of mouth. It comes from their mouth. So you talk about J.J. Watt announcing that he is being released by the Texans and where he's going, as opposed to being announced publicly through leaks or through agents. I like the fact that Carl Nassib took the time to say it from his heart and say it from himself. And he said, "What's up, people? I'm at my house in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I just wanted to take a quick moment to say that I'm gay. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, but finally feel comfortable getting it off my chest. I really have the best life, the best family, friends, a job a guy could ask for. I'm a pretty private person, so I hope you guys know that I'm not doing this for attention. I just think that representation and visibility are so important. I actually hope that one day videos like this and the whole coming out process are not necessary, but until then I will do my best and my part to cultivate a culture that's accepting and compassionate, and I'm going to start by donating $100,000 to the Trevor Project. They are an incredible organization. They're the #1 suicide prevention service for LGBTQ youth in America." And of course, as I said earlier, Roger Goodell supported that statement, and the NFL also donated a sum of money to that same Trevor Project organization. So obviously, fantastic for Carl Nassib. Support is, for the most part, especially from players and players on his team, has been overwhelming for the guy. And you're going to see a lot of comparisons to this, and this is kind of why I wanted to talk about it today and take some extra time. You're going to see a lot of comparisons to Michael Sam when you talk about Carl Nassib and how he's the first actively gay player in the NFL. And I want to point out that Michael Sam and Carl Nassib, the situations are not the same, and it should not be treated the same at all. Because the situation with Michael Sam, obviously, if you remember, or if you don't, he was drafted later in the rounds. He was, I think, an SEC Defensive Player of the Year at one point. He was drafted in the later rounds, and he was seen on national TV kissing his boyfriend then, or his husband. I can't quite remember which one it was. And then it became a gigantic media storm of Michael Sam and, how he was the first gay player, or one of the very open gay players, to be potentially trying out for an NFL team. And what happened is that Michael Sam just kind of did not make the team. He was not good enough to make the team. And somehow, some way, that was misinterpreted as being him being pushed out by the league because he was gay, or pushed out and roadblocked and blacklisted by the league because he was gay. And the truth of the matter is that Michael Sam just was not good enough to be an NFL football player. And as unfortunate as it was for him, he was at that time the icon that gay people who either played or watched football could latch onto and appreciate and feel represented by. So, there was a lot of misinterpretation about who Michael Sam was and what he, meant to people, and also like how he was pushed out of the league, because he wasn't pushed out of the league. The fact of the matter is that he couldn't play ball. He could not hang. Carl Nassib is a different story. He's been playing in the NFL for 4 years now. He plays for the Raiders. He's a very solid defensive lineman, and he's already displayed the fact that he can do his job. He could do his job well. His sexual orientation does not detriment his ability to play football. And, that kind of also is another difference between him and Michael Sam, is people are saying, well, why would I really want to be tackled by, if I'm the quarterback, why would I, want to shower with him, or why would I want to be tackled by him? Carl Nassib, up until this point, has been straight for 4 years. Nobody would have known any difference, and obviously him having time in the NFL eases this transition a little bit to where people are saying, okay, this guy can actually play football. Like, he's a pretty good defensive lineman. For the Las Vegas Raiders, but obviously now he's gay, and that puts a little bit of a different light on things, and I think it's making it a little bit easier for people to accept it in that stance. But I want to really reiterate the fact that this is not Michael Sam 2.0. Carl Nassib is not Michael Sam 2.0. He can play football. He has played football, and in a time in which social acceptance is better than ever, it's easier for you to be, whether you're whatever your gender is, or your orientation is, or whatever your race is. There are barriers that are being broken every single day, whether it's women playing in predominantly male sports, or whether it's athletes that are coming out as gay in a predominantly straight sport. And obviously, the good thing about Carl Nassib is that there are plenty of athletes that are playing in the NFL that I'm sure are either questioning or are gay or bisexual or whatever that may be. As long as somebody stands up at some point that pushes forward the envelope and pushes through the barrier that was previously once there. And it's incredibly courageous for Carl Nassib to be doing this, and the candor in which he has done it as well, I think, is also important, because, and I'm going to say this very tactfully, or the most tactfully way that I can, there are people that come out as gay and try and, in a way, and this is, I know this is going to sound bad to some people, but they try and enforce that upon you in a way. They kind of wear it a little bit too strongly, and that can turn off some people that may be okay with gay or bisexual people, but are not, necessarily okay with that being impressed upon them, if you get it. There are people like that. There are multiple different receptions to this. Carl Nassib has done it in such a way in which it's a clear Instagram post in which he is acting as himself. He's talking in a very candid and warm-hearted tone, and he's letting people know he's getting it off his chest, and it's made it such a, even if you aren't gay, it made it such a relatable and understanding post, because everybody has something that they're insecure or they need to get off their chest, and maybe they're not necessarily comfortable with themselves, whether it's their weight, whether it's their height, whether it's their inability to build muscle, maybe it's their orientation, maybe it's the fact that they're black or they're white or they're Asian, or everybody has something about them, right? Everybody has something about them that maybe they don't necessarily want to talk about, or that they kind of just want to push to the side and push to the back of their mind. Yet here is Carl Nassib, just in a simple Instagram post. It took him probably 5 minutes to record. Tells the world, "Hi, I am Carl Nassib. I'm in my house in Pennsylvania. I want to tell you that I am gay, and I want to build a conversation, and I want to contribute to the Trevor Project to contribute against suicide numbers for LGBTQ plus youth in America." That is, again, tremendously courageous, but it also does it in such a way in which it's the least offensive way possible. It's not thrusting it upon anybody. It's not being overpowering or overbearing about it to anybody. It's just a guy announcing his sexual preference, and obviously his goal is to, create awareness for what this is, and hopefully inspire other athletes in different sports, including football, to maybe be a little bit more open about their sexuality. And it makes a huge difference, as I already said, the fact that he has already played in the NFL. So now that Carl Nassib, assuming that nothing bad happens to him moving forward, like he gets cut for the team or something, he is in a position in which he's already played 4 successful years in the NFL. It's not a Michael Sam situation where people could misinterpret the fact that, he was just not a good enough football player to be able to make an NFL team and he got quote unquote pushed out of the league. There's no way to misinterpret that Carl Nassib is not Michael Sam 2.0. Hats off to Nassib. I hope I was able to correctly identify and explain my feelings, and I'm interested to hear what you all have to say about this. Please keep it, family friendly wherever you talk about this, because obviously there are people that are going to really appreciate stuff like this, and there are people that are going to lash out negatively on this, and I just wanted to properly talk about the topic without really, elbowing somebody in the gut too hard, and really just say how I feel and report on it as anybody that's unbiased should be. So good for Carl Nassib, and I wish him the greatest success. And for him and gay people alike, I hope that if this really does spur greater exception for you, especially in professional sports, that's fantastic. And I think the world is trending in that direction anyway, but obviously this is a really important start for the LGBTQ community. So hats off to Carl Nassib, and I wish him nothing but success. Big news for the NFL, maybe sweeping changes in other sports as well. Hey folks, thank you so much for listening to this segment from the Hard-Headed Sports Podcast. If you enjoyed this segment, make sure that you drop a like on the video and a comment. It helps me out a bunch. And if you're interested in watching more segments like this from the show after the show has been completed, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Once again, thank you so much for watching the video. My name is Nick Ryan, and I will see you all again very soon.